Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with a daily technical update. It is Tuesday the 21st of May. I took a day off yesterday because it was a bank holiday here in Denmark with Monday, so sorry about that. But now I'm back and we'll start with Apple that closed yesterday above 190.64 resistance around that level, 191. There's now potential up to the other peak here at 196, but I would be surprised if we could see a push up to just below 200. Here we have 199, so keep an eye on that. There's no divergence on the RSI, which is quite positive, so there is upside potential for Apple. Moving on to the S&P 500, stalling a little bit here the past few days, but uptrend is intact. There's no RSI divergence. We could see a move towards the 138 projections at 5,383. Nasdaq 100s. Very good day yesterday, sorry. So it is paving the road higher towards 19,000, probably spiking above it to the 138.2 projection. So let's see if we can actually reach that. We have Nvidia coming out with earnings later this week, so that can be either a driver or killer. So let's see about that. The European markets are stalling a little bit, and we still have the EUROSTOXX 50 below its all-time highs. Could test the 5,034 support here. Looks fairly heavy. It doesn't really look like it can fly and get back above or get above the all-time highs and pushing higher. Contrary to the other European markets where we have DAX actually trading around all-time highs, very close to 19,000. Could still reach it, but it looks also a little bit choppy at the moment. As you can see, we have quite a bit of RSI divergence, and we can illustrate that with this line here. So you can see declining RSI values, but market has moved higher. That is a sign of imbalance and a sign of stretched uptrend in exhaustion mode. More or less the same picture on Amsterdam index. Actually, we can adjust this one here and say, well, we still have massive divergence on the RSI. You can see the values are still declining. Despite moving higher, but I don't have a top and reversal in place. We do have quite a few dojis here where market is just basically trading sideways the past week or so around 910, 912. So it looks a little bit stretched. CAC 40 has been stalling, been rejected twice at its strongest resistance at 82.53. Support around 8,126 could be tested here. A close below, well, then we could see further selling pressure, and maybe it can't really push towards that or above that resistance. Swiss market looks has been really strong here the past 8-10 days, but now it seems to be being a little bit stressed. However, there's no divergence on the RSI. Could push higher, but I think we will see a correction here within the next few days, a minor one, but we could push higher in the coming weeks. But be cautious. It looks a little bit toppish short term. Moving on to FX as usual, and we'll start with euro dollar. 108.85 resistance here, still holding on. Tested again yesterday, got rejected. Could slide lower, possibly down to 108, the upper part of the cloud, and the 38.2 retracement just below there. It is not unlikely we see it. However, if we get another break above, we did spike above here late last week, but if we do get another break above, I wouldn't wait for a close above for another push towards 109.80 and 110. Cable hovering around resistance at 127.10. Can't really get above. I mean, it has spiked above, but I need a close above for confirmation. But we are above the cloud. The RSI is in a positive sentiment, indicating we should see a move up to 128. But again, there's no certainties in this. We could still have a little bit of a setback back to around 126.5, 126.25 before the next upwards move. Yen pairs Dollar yen is lacking the other yen pairs, and we'll get to that in a second. But dollar yen still below 157. If it does break above, well, then we I'll see a push towards 158.45, where there's some resistance at the 786 retracement. Can it get up there? Well, the RSI is telling me there is room for higher closing price above 158.5. So let's say here the next couple of days, but it is struggling a little bit. Then we have euro yen above 169.40. Resistance, little minor resistance there, just around the 786 retracement at 170. Almost touched it within a few cents. I think we could still see a push to break it. And the RSI is still in a positive sentiment. However, there is now divergence. This peak here is higher than this one, but we actually had a higher close yesterday, indicating we are a bit stretched. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of setback. However, if it does break above, well, then there's potential up to all previous peak on euro yen. Aussie yen, also very strong, actually above the 786 retracement, above 104, has potential up to 105, but there is divergence on the RSI, as we can see here. So it is a little bit stressed at the moment. So it's not a sure thing that we will push higher. We could still see a little bit of a correction down to maybe 103. So be cautious here at the moment, but it could spike higher to the 105. The sterling yen pair around the 786 retracement at 198.66 did spike a little bit above. I think we will see also a little bit of setback. We had a higher close yesterday, the highest close, and that's why we also have divergence here on the RSI, indicating we are quite stretched here on the sterling yen pair. Aussie dollar testing the support at 66.44 at the moment. I think it will bounce higher because we have the bullish RSI, positive RSI, indicating we should see a push up to the 67.5 level. Dollar Canada really looks indecisive, can't really make his mind up. Below 61.8, above, below, above, so it's hovering around these levels here. I actually did expect to spike down to the 786 retracement at 135.56, but I'm not quite sure we'll get there. But we are in a short-term corrective trend, but the RSI is actually still in positive sentiment. So it needs to break below 40 to reverse that, to bearish, and RSI has actually broken its above its upper falling trend line, indicating we could see a push higher. But I need confirmation. I would wait until RSI is above 60 before I say, okay, then that was that correction, then we are pushing higher. Euro-Swiss, really strong at the moment. It took out resistance at 98.5 the other day, pushing higher, and there's now room up to, I think it is eyeing par. And if you look at my analysis that I published late last week, I think it was Friday, on dollar Swiss and euro Swiss, you can see why, and it is actually pushing higher towards that level. We can see it's getting very close to the par level there, and I think it could be reached, but we also have a little bit of resistance at 99.17. Dollar Swiss still struggling really to take off after being rejected at the 90 is a key strong support level. If it does move back above the rising trend line, I think we will see a new high on dollar Swiss. And finally, we have the dollar index. A little bit frustrating. I mean, I did expect it to dip down to the 61.8 retracement. We can still do it. We are in a negative sentiment, so we can still do it. We can actually still dip below the support at 103.68, maybe even down to the 786 retracement, but I'm not quite sure about that. If it moves back above 104.84, then I think uptrend will resume. Gold. New all-time high overnight or last night, but it did close above, but it was also a new all-time close. We are in a bullish trend. However, it seems like it's stalling a little bit. We have now divergence, still divergence on the RSI, as you can see here, but we are back above 60 thresholds on RSI, indicating we could push higher. But I think it will stall a little bit of a setback here since it couldn't close above. But there should be room up to 24.90, maybe spiking out to 2,500. But it is stretched. If you're long, I would say I would keep my longs, but I would be very cautious about taking up new longs. Also, check out Ole Hansen's latest update on metals, where he explains why it could maybe not be such a good idea to establish new longs at least. Silver also extremely stretched here, but it seems like we do not have any divergence on at the RSI. As you can know, we do not. So we could push higher on silver, and that's maybe what could dragging gold higher. And if we are looking at the weekly chart, as we can see here, there's actually no resistance in silver until around 34.5, 35. These levels over here back in 2012, 2013, around that, where we had a little bit of a correction there, but there could be higher levels in store for silver, but as you see, no resistance until then. So really strong in silver, no divergence on the RSI, indicating we could push higher, but still be very cautious about taking up new longs, because a correction could hit abrupt and suddenly. Platinum didn't really make it all the way to 1130. We could now see a correction down to around 1,020, 1,015, maybe even dipping a little bit lower. It is quite volatile at the moment. If we're looking at the weekly chart, we can see there's really not any resistance until around 1130. We could push to that, but also it is really volatile, this precious metal there. Copper also quite stretched, and I think we will see a correction. And as our commodities expert Ole Hansen has indicated, fundamentally there's nothing justifying what's going on. So there are a lot of speculation in this, and maybe some hoarding in copper at the moment. Very stretched uptrend. We have a little bit of divergence, but we don't have any resistance levels ahead, because we are in an all-time highs. So we could still push higher if there's some panic around. On the energy side, we have WTI still below the 200 moving average. So I think the pressure is to the downside. It is not unlikely we could spike a little bit higher, but I think we will see another wave of selling here if we push back below the 100 moving average, and if RSI drops back below 40, which I believe it will, then we could have another pressure down to or pressure on the support around 76.60 on the WTI. Brent crude oil also the same here. You can see it's actually selling off at the moment. Could have another push down to the support area here at 81.40, 80.70 level. Finally, the US Treasury 10-year bounced off. It's just above the 786 retracement, and the support at 429, 430 actually dipped to 430, bouncing, and I think it will bounce a little bit higher to 447, possibly higher. If it takes out this candle, as you can see there, at 453, then I will say we are back in a bullish trend. Break below 430, well, then we could see a drop down to around 420. That's all for today. Have a nice day and happy trading.